All right, welcome everyone. Let me just double check, make sure I got audio here, and then we should be good to go. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. We got audio. We're live. We're live again. We're live again. More severe weather here. This has been a very busy month of April here, and to close it out, we have more severe weather. The tornado watch or the tornado warning that was just in effect here for this storm just got downgraded to a severe thunderstorm watch. So at the moment, as we're starting the stream here at 4:15 Central Time, no tornado warnings at the moment, but we have an exploding number of severe thunderstorm warnings. All of these right now are posing a large hail potential. And essentially right now they're kind of lining the Missouri River just east of Omaha in western Iowa. We have a new storm that has developed over here in southwest Nebraska, and then a few storms that started going up just in the last few minutes in northeast Kansas. We're expecting more development here down the dry line, and you can already see the dry line here and storms starting to fire along that. Even down into Oklahoma now, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning north of Altus, Oklahoma. Primarily large hail and gusty winds are the primary threat down here. That may continue to backfill even down further into Texas, and we're already seeing some signs that that's going to happen here south of Childress, Texas, and even a severe thunderstorm warning in West Texas right now for a big hailer out here near Rankin, Texas. 70-mile-an-hour winds and tennis ball size hail already being warned for this storm. So it's going to be a busy day, especially if the boundary here unzips more from central Texas and West Texas all the way up to where we have the tornado warnings here. It could be an especially busy day. We're going to take a tour here a little bit from the top to the bottom, and we can start with the storms here north and east of Omaha, Nebraska. Unfortunately, this area was hit very hard by the tornadoes a few days ago. So for the recovery efforts here, we're finding more severe storms in this area. Hold on just a second here. Okay, had a little grass bug that somehow found its way inside, and it was about to crawl in front of the camera, so I had to take care of that real quick. All right, thanks to see some people joining the stream, so thank you. We're just about to get started here. The traffic cam that you're seeing in the other corner of the screen, that is from the Red Oak area. That is just around the storm that was tornado warned a few minutes ago. Unfortunately, I think our camera is looking west, so actually we're looking more towards the storm that's developing to the southwest of Red Oak, right here. But yes, here's Red Oak, and our traffic cam is right here along 34, looking to the west. So we'll see about this storm developing. This camera had a decent look at the previously tornado warned storm that crossed the camera here. And it confirmed that there was a bit of a lowering, but not a tornado on the ground, and that has been replaced with a severe thunderstorm for large hail. I don't even think it has a tornado possible tag on it right now. But trained weather spotters have reported golf ball size hail with this. The hail core moved north of Red Oak, so our camera didn't catch up on that much. But We'll see here. And there is a camera that faces east. If the storm slides a little more south, which it doesn't look like it's going to, it's moving more east northeast, so it's kind of moving away from Red Oak. The other camera in Red Oak faces more southeast, and it has even a worse view of the storms. So that's why we're holding on to the west cam, looking this way, and we can see a little bit of this storm developing here off to that left-hand corner of the camera. Pretty good environment. So that storm southwest of Red Oak may develop a hail core and potentially some rotation as well. But getting up here north of Denison, or north of Omaha near Denison and Moorhead, Iowa, we have just a cluster of storms. A lot of these are being warned for hail, and that's really the primary threat. Even the wind is not as much of a factor right now, but $half size hail east of Moorhead and Soldier, and between basically Moorhead and Dunlap, that is, looks like the largest hail core in that cell. Those are going to keep riding up along US 30 here, moving east-northeast. Yeah, we can see they're pretty much riding up along 30, so a little bit of a rough drive if you're headed that way out of Omaha. And then a little more structure on this cell near Logan and Woodbine. This is being warned for hail as well, up to 1 inch in diameter. That's quarter-size hail. And the hail threat is only going to grow here as these storms upscale. These aren't moving terribly fast right now either, so there's a bit of a heavy rain threat. And if it does start to hail in these places, they're going to get hail for at least a couple minutes, because you're going to be under these hail cores for, you know, at least a few minutes. It's not just going to be blowing through at 50 miles an hour. So if you're up here towards Dow City, Arion, Haley, certainly time to get away from windows and certainly put yourself in a sturdy structure, because you have some pretty nasty storms coming your way. So far, the storms up here northeast of Omaha haven't showed a ton of rotation. We can check on these, and yeah, they're not showing much in the way of rotation right now. So good news here for areas that have been hit hard, pretty hard by the tornadoes recently. Looks like a 61 mile wind report did come in Little Sioux, Iowa, by a DOT report. So that storm is definitely packing a punch here. Out of the storms in this area, it looks like this northern storm has the larger hail, and then we've had reports of 61 mile an hour winds. This storm that was down by Red Oak, it had a couple reports here of over 2-inch hail near Malvern. So that's a pretty good size hail report there, and actually a big cluster of them here along US 34. That hail core right now is over Grant, and that is still showing some larger hail in here. Those bright pinks and purples, that is definitely indicating some of that larger hail. That is moving up. Let's see, get an estimate on this. So it's actually being warned for golf ball size hail, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's even a little bit larger hail in this storm. And that is moving east at 35. So if you're out east of this storm at 35, I'm going to take it from the hail core. Lincoln Center, about 10 minutes. Dewey, 15 minutes. Bridgewater, Iowa, 25 minutes. Orient, Iowa, about 45 minutes. So if you're out here by Greenfield or Orient in Ohio, I keep saying Ohio, Iowa, then you got about 45 minutes out that way towards Greenfield and Orient. What is that, Fontanelle? You got a few minutes there to put the car in the garage. So this is generally headed your direction here. If you're out a little closer to that area, like Lincoln Center, it might be a little too late. If you're out in this area 5 or 10 minutes away from the storm, you can already see there's heavy rain, lightning out ahead of that hail core. So it's really time has passed to, you know, go outside and try and rush and cover up stuff. You need to start really getting into that sturdy shelter. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets warned for even larger hail. It's dropped 2-inch hail before. Right now it's being warned for golf ball size hail. This could certainly have a little bit larger than that in here. Maybe even lime. Certainly seeing these blues, that's picking up over the areas here around Grant. That is a pretty nasty storm. Now this one has had some rotation on it. There is still some rotation down here by Grant in this southern flank of the storm. So we are watching that. But right now, it's stayed pretty weak rotation as it's passed north of Red Oak. You can see actually back further by Emerson, it was a bit tighter rotation here. So a bit tighter as it was definitely upscaling. Started out as some broad rotation, and then but around Emerson it tightened up. That's, I think, around when it got the tornado warning. But since then, it's generally broadened out. And actually, it looks like there may be a mesoscale replacement here. That original rotation lifted north towards Elliott, and it looks like there's rotation that's kind of taken over here near Grant. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on this. It may, if it can get its act together a little further, require a tornado warning, but right now it does not look imminently tornadic. But certainly here we have green. Greens are headed towards the radar, and the reds are headed away. So our rotation is sitting right in here. And let me just double check. Yeah, we're using the Omaha radar. So we do have a bit of rotation in here. Near Grant, Morton Mills, coming up towards Lincoln Center. Talked about you guys earlier for the hail core. And north of Wallen here in western Iowa. That's one to keep our eye on. Sliding south here near Auburn, Iowa, or this is Auburn, Nebraska. Have a new storm that's been upscaling here near Elk Creek. Certainly we can see the hail cores in these storms. One here near Steinhauer too. Those purples are indicating those larger hail cores. And we can see here just a little bit ago, that wasn't much. That was about a half hour ago. There wasn't much there, so not even a half hour. That was about 23 minutes ago. On those scans, those were just little thunder showers, and now they're hail producing severe thunderstorms. Again, we're starting to see those blues. These pinks and blues are indicating some sizable hail up, at least elevated in the clouds. So that also means that there's a pretty strong updraft that's fueling these storms. So they're healthy, growing storms. Into Kansas now, we have more hailstorms. 2-inch hail, this one just got upgraded. 2-inch hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds. Again, you can see those blues and pinks in here. So I think I'm right about those other storms. If this weather service down here is warning the blue colors for 2-inch hail, then this storm here, okay, they did actually upgrade it. This storm is definitely in the 2-inch hail possibility here north of Grant, north and east of Grant now. Let's see, did they update it at all? They updated it a little bit, so it's also moving east at 45. So then a little bit closer to get to some of these places. It was about 45 minutes when we last checked towards Greenfield and Orient. That's going to be a little less now, maybe about 35 minutes, 40 minutes tops. That's I think our most dangerous storm right now, as far as, at least in this area, in this tornado watch, for tornadic potential as well as damaging winds and hail. And we just have a new report here. Personal Weather Station records 70-mile-an-hour winds. So this storm here definitely means business between Griswold and Greenfield, north now of Red Oak. If you're out ahead of this, you definitely need to be in a sturdy structure, away from windows, away from the outside walls. Don't be in a trailer or a mobile home. You definitely want to get to a stable structure here if you're out here near Orient, Greenfield. 70-plus mile-an-hour winds can easily do damage to a mobile home, especially if that 70-mile-an-hour wind is blowing 2-inch hail. Then that's even a bigger threat to property, but also life. So if you're out here ahead of this storm, let's start thinking about where you're going to go, get to that safe place, and stay safe here. Let this storm pass. Yeah, you can see it's already kind of filling out a pretty good 2-inch hail, 2.25-inch hail, 70-mile-an-hour wind. So it's already getting up there with its storm reports. We really need to take this one seriously. Yeah, rotation is not showing that well. the rotation hasn't really picked up, so that's one good news. Still sitting in here near 71 and Grant right now. That storm here over our traffic cam definitely looks like it's upscaling. We can see on the traffic cam the rain curtains there out along the horizon. It looks like it may have some small hail in it. It's not severe warned yet, but this is about to cross over our traffic camera. So we can watch this and see if there's a little bit of small hail in here. Looks like they're doing some construction work to 34. Maybe a road widening project. This whole half of the road here is torn up with construction. Take it a little bigger here for a minute. Take it a little bigger here for a minute. Okay, that could be that's either some larger raindrops or that's some hail coming down. You can see it's pretty thicker and whiter. That may be some hail coming down. We can definitely see some heavy rain just straight off the camera here out towards the horizon line. That is a pretty good rain shaft right there with likely some even more hail in there. So this storm is definitely upscaling here over Red Oak. That's an interesting camera. It's got a nice wide shot. So I'll have to remember this one when we have more severe weather in Iowa. The Iowa DOT actually has some pretty good traffic cams. We saw in the last severe weather tornado outbreak on Friday that some of the traffic cams at least looks like the DOT can control because they were zooming in onto the tornadoes. So that was nice. They were able to actually turn them around and manually control them to track these tornadoes. That certainly helped us too to verify that tornadoes were on the ground. So this is lifting up just over the Red Oak, Iowa area. It looks like it's going to be now mostly north of US 34. All right, I'll shrink that back down. Yeah, our traffic cam, if anyone's just joining us, is sitting right about there looking west. So we've just kind of watched this core come across 34 here, US 34. Probably some small hail in there. All right, let me shrink that camera back down. The core of the storm already crossed over us, so we're just going to kind of see it shifting away from us. But as that storm here, as this one gets closer to the I-80 corridor, and eventually this one could hold on. If it's on its current track, east-northeast, this one is one to watch here in Des Moines. If you have interest in Des Moines later this evening here, it's 4:34 Central Time. And this one was at 30, no, it was upgraded to 45 miles an hour. Kind of east-northeast at 45. Yeah, if this holds together, it's about an hour away from Winterset, Iowa, right here, southwest of Des Moines. And then if it continues on that track, it's going to get a lot closer to Des Moines, about 65 minutes to Patterson and 60 minutes to East Peru. So let's see, Norwalk about 80 minutes. So hour and a half to some of these southern and western suburbs here in the Des Moines area. The storm that we were just watching cross our traffic camera is now severe thunderstorm warned. So that probably was some hail that we saw, some small hail. It's being warned for $half size. I don't think we got into the super strong core of the storm, so we saw, I think, less than that. It was probably, my guess from looking at the camera and looking at hail on cameras before, it was probably maybe pea-sized hail. But in that core that we've seen now pass just off our camera here, it's still kind of over here, mostly north of 34. That core could have, yeah, and we're already seeing it here just on the last scan. You're already seeing those brighter pinks and blues. So we're already starting to see that upscale. All right. Continuing down the line, we actually have a tornado warning for these storms that I wanted to take a look at closer in northern Kansas. These are also upscaling storms. Boy, this is going to be a busy little bit of time. We've had quite a few severe thunderstorms now exploding along the boundary here in central Kansas. But this one is now tornado warned. So this is, I believe, the second tornado warning of the day. That storm that was up by Red Oak, the original one, was tornado warned for a while. Tornado and hail up to 2 inches in diameter. The emergency management here is reporting a developing wall cloud and funnel cloud. So this is a little bit more serious than just detecting some rotation. It's near Frankfort, Kansas right now, moving east at 25. So actually, yeah, it probably has a somewhat rain-free base here. This is not an HP. So here's our hail core up in here. RFD wrapping around like this. You have warm inflow coming into the storm like this. So rotation should be right here. And that's where we're finding it, just between Frankfort and Barrett. So yeah, it's probably a pretty good visual on this storm here that we can see its rotation from the emergency management. Not seeing anything right now that would indicate the CC drop, but it does apparently have a wall cloud. And let's see here, we can kind of see if this rotation has picked up in the last few minutes. Yeah, it definitely has. You can see it's starting to come together here. And then we have some brighter reds going away from the radar, and then some greens going towards the radar. Where's our radar site? Our radar site is down here near Manhattan. So, yep, we're seeing some rotation here. And the emergency management's reporting those wall clouds. So that would make sense. Pretty much right over Franklin right now, or Frankfurt right now. This is going to slide up if you're in this warning here. Tornado warning now for this area around Frankfort, Kansas. If you're in Villette, yeah, I'm going to go with Villette. Villette, maybe? Villette, Vermillion, Sullivan, Barrett, Frankfort. You guys need to be taking your tornado safety precautions. Centralia and Baileyville also around this warning here. It's not particularly moving very fast. So what did they have this at? They had this at east at 25. So if you're out here, Vermillion, Centralia, Villites maybe? We'll go with it. If anyone's from this town, let me know how you say it. But Sullivan, Blights, Vermillion. You guys might be in your safe space here for a few minutes because it's going to take a little bit of time for this tornado warned storm to pass, unless it just fizzles out. But it doesn't look like it's fizzling out. Actually, this last scan the rotation looks a little bit punchier here. We have a little bit brighter reds going away from the radar and a little bit brighter greens going towards the radar. So between what we're seeing here on radar and then also the tornado warning information that it was reported by emergency manager, funnel cloud and wall cloud developing, that this is probably a developing tornadic circulation here. It's still a little bit broad. We can see these aren't quite touching each other. There's a little bit of gray in between the greens and the reds, but if that tightens up just a little bit, then we could easily be seeing a tornado here. So we need to start really taking our tornado safety precautions if we're out here in the Frankfurt area over towards Vermillion and Centralia, Kansas. This is generally sliding east, slightly northeast of east towards you guys. And we can also track that out. I'm going to track out the front of this here of the mezzo. So Vliet's about 8 minutes, Vermillion 15, and Centralia, if this holds together, about a half hour. So that is definitely a tightening area rotation. This storm in front of it, well, it'll be interesting to see here. We have this storm right here, and there is a storm out in front of this east of Centralia that has a little rotation on it. But it's gonna struggle to get this inflow if this storm here continues to upscale right on its flank. So we may see some cell mergers here. If this storm can slide a little bit further out, the one here that's over Kelly, then we'll need to watch that one too. That has a little bit of weak broad rotation at the moment, now east of Centralia. If that one continues developing, then it could come up towards Grenada, Powhatan, and Fairview. I've said it before on some streams, when we start seeing upscaling rotations like this, storms that are in similar environment may tend to do the same thing. And I think, speaking of storm in the similar environment, the storm to the south has also now received a tornado warning. So this is radar indicated rotation and a funnel cloud reported by emergency management. So we have two storms here in Kansas, two storms that now have funnel clouds reported on them that we need to take seriously here for tornado warned storms. This is near Westmoreland, Kansas, up towards Wheaton, Onaga, and if it stays together, Havensville, and let's see if there's any towns, Laclede and Aikens, Blaine, and Fostoria, Kansas. Although Fostoria, Kansas is going to slide to the east of you guys already. Yeah, that's a little tighter rotation here, right over the town of Westmoreland, Kansas. Now here you can see there's reds meeting green. This is likely a funnel cloud, if not a developing tornado. Let's take a look at that. Is in a weird spot though. It's in kind of the back left. Let's take a look at this again. Let's see. Yeah, there's a bit of a weird spot for a tornado, but it may be due to this cell merger that's happening here. We can see the storm near Fostoria and Westmoreland, and then another storm has kind of merged into it. So that's an interesting one. Yeah, they're going to go observe tornado actually on this. Let's see. Emergency management reported a confirmed tornado located over Westmoreland. So that is our tornado. So we have a tornado on the ground here. Westmoreland. I wasn't sure because the debris signature is over a little bit of more of a clear air area, but yeah, now that it's updated, that is a tornado on the ground over Westmoreland, Kansas right now. So we can see the CC drops here, these blues. These indicate values that have low correlation. So we look at areas like this here in the pink and reds. This is what the radar determines as meteorological targets. So raindrops are all kind of the same size. If you have a raindrop, it might be a little bigger than one, but essentially they're going to be the same size. When we start seeing the blues and greens, a lot of times that might indicate there's rain, but then there's also hail. So we might see a raindrop. I drew that backwards, but we might see a raindrop with some hail in some of these blue colors with the greens. But then when we start seeing these deep blue colors, like right over Westmoreland, that indicates that it's not meteorological targets. They don't correlate with each other. They're not uniform. So that could be leaves, twigs, building materials, all kinds of stuff. And that helps us determine that there's a tornado in there when we see it with a couplet. So it's confirming what we're seeing on the velocity. We have looks like a damaging tornado right now over the Westmoreland, Kansas area. So if you're out ahead of this, you need to take this. This is our most serious one. If you're out ahead of this, Laclede, Aikens, maybe up towards Wheaton, Duluth, Onaga in Kansas, and maybe out ahead of this towards Havensville and also St. Clair. You guys need to all start being into your tornado safe space. So we've had a confirmed tornado here. Damage to residential structures on the west side of Westmore. This is not good. Not good here. Yeah, we're still seeing that CC drop too, and it's unfortunately right over the town of Westmoreland. It's slid a little bit here as we've seen the last couple scans. And we can see it on velocity too, how that lines up with velocity, and it lines up with this little area of reflectivity. Because of how this actually lines up, it looks like the back edge of the storm is kind of like right here. So this may actually, this higher end reflectivity that's sticking out like this may technically be a bit of a debris ball signature, since we're seeing the CC drop and rotation right in there at the same time. It's a little bit non-orthodox of a debris ball. Usually you see those on like the end of the hook echo. This one's more on the back edge of the storm. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, what we're seeing here. This is really like the back edge of the storm, and we're seeing this, a bit of a reverse debris ball here. That should update in just a minute. Yeah, there's a damaging tornado on the ground here. I mean, at least the good news is the emergency management reported this. They reported this as a funnel cloud originally, and so now they're reporting it as a tornado here. Yeah, not good for the people of Westmoreland. Let's see here. I want to briefly get out ahead of this here for anyone that's out ahead of this. Unfortunately, the other problem here, this is not moving very fast. It's moving east at 15 miles an hour. I'm going to take it from the tornadic portion of the storm and see if we get any communities. Well, that may be one benefit here in this part of Kansas. So we're not seeing any towns out ahead of this. There are people that live out here. If you zoom in, there's definitely roads. So there are people that live out here. There's just no organized town. If you live out here on that Wheaton Road, east of Westmoreland, you guys need to be in your safe place. South of Wheaton, between Wheaton and the Laclede, you guys need to be in your safe place. This is a tornado in progress over the town of Westmoreland, Kansas, moving east at 15. So yeah, especially if you're out east of Wheaton Road, you guys need to be taking cover out towards Aikens, and south and west of Onaga. That is a dangerous situation here. Yeah, that's a weird spot for it, for tornadic development, but that is a debris ball, folks. That is a debris ball right there. Wow. So this is sliding just now east and north of Wheaton or Westmoreland, Kansas here. Yeah, this little appendage is your debris ball. At this higher reflectivity right here, that's where we find our rotation, and that's also where we find our CC drop. What we're going to need to watch on this storm is this storm has had a cell merger, and it's maybe trying to reorganize itself right now. This area of rotation, or I guess I should say this ongoing tornado, the rotation couplet doesn't look as strong as it did just a couple scans ago. And we're starting to see a shear line develop out here. If you look at the reflectivity, that shear line is along a new appendage that's kind of sticking down here. So we have inflow that the storm is trying to take in here. This may be starting to develop a new meso on the southwest flank, which is a little more traditional for a tornadic storm, especially a tornadic supercell. Until that fully happens, though, we have to worry about the storm here on the back end. On this part of the storm, still seeing the CC drop in here, even though the velocity couplet isn't as tight and as strong as it was a few minutes ago. We're still seeing that debris signature showing up on the CC with the blues, and then we're also seeing the debris ball show up here on reflectivity. Anyone that's out ahead of the storm, you're probably not going to see the tornado coming, because this is a pretty big hail core, and I'm already starting to see some blues in here. So again, that's probably, if it goes along with a lot of the other storms we're seeing today, that's going to be up in that 2-inch hail kind of category here. So if you're out ahead of this storm, definitely take your tornado safety precautions, but also be taking those because of the large hail. So we have a wind-driven hail problem out here. And yeah, if you're standing out here, you're not going to see this tornado because there's the big hail core of the storm is between you and the tornado. The tornado's out here on the back end near Westmoreland, Kansas right now. I would guess the view of this is probably still from the emergency management from the town of Westmoreland. You may be able to see this tornado from the back side looking at it. But yeah, that appendage is still showing up here. And that is where our rotation is, and it's still showing a debris ball. That is an interesting storm. Yeah, but we need to start watching this area here. Still broad at the moment, but it does seem like there's another area of rotation that's going to be forming on the southwest flank of the storm. It's starting to collect its inflow here. Very interesting. We're hoping everybody's okay in Westmoreland. Well, it's interesting meteorologically, but it's not good socially that this tracked right over Westmoreland, Kansas here, and developed probably just to the west of the town. When it went tornado warned, it was just somewhere out in here when the emergency management recorded a funnel cloud, and then very quickly became a tornado. And still seeing it's not as tight as it was, but we're still seeing a bit of a debris signature on the CC as well as reflectivity, and also still seeing the velocity couplet still in here with the reds and greens. I'm going to slide away from this storm briefly since it's out of Westmoreland. Again, we'll see if we get any more of these tornado reports in here, but since this is leaving Westmoreland right now and there's not anything immediate to its east as far as a town, again, if you're east of Westmoreland, especially out along Wheaton Road and Hartwich Road, you guys really need to be in your tornado safety space here, because this is a likely, it may be weakening now. Now I'm not seeing that, we're not seeing that debris signature, and the reflectivity also isn't as bright. So hopefully this is weakening. There are still some CC drops in here, so this still may be on the ground. but it does seem to be losing a lot of its punch here. This is well north of Manhattan, Kansas, so Manhattan, Kansas, this is not an issue for you guys right now. All right, I do want to go check. We have a lot of storms that have been unzipping here, and a new severe thunderstorm watch for, it looks like, central and western Oklahoma into the Red River. But I also want to check our other tornado warn storms, see if it's doing the same thing. Right now it's not. It's still radar indicated. And this was just updated too at 4:52. So that is good news there. It is starting to show some stronger rotation though here near Vermillion, Kansas. But not seeing that debris signature like we did on the earlier storm. Probably just south of Vermillion or over Vermillion. This might be on the ground now too. Let's see here. See, I'm starting to see a little bit of CC drop in here. Let's see what they just updated this with. Now they've just extended it out more. So that's a good sign. It's still maybe not on the ground. Yeah, I think that's hail contamination. The hail core is pretty close to the circulation, so this area is a dangerous storm too. If you're along Kansas Highway 9, you get the blues and the pink colors. That looks like today has been really equaling the 2-inch hail. Rotation has come down on that other storm, so that's good to see. But what have they updated here? They've updated moving east at 45 near Vermillion. Again, seeing some bit tighter areas of rotation. But right now that looks like clear air. So that's a good sign right now. But tracking this out, yeah, east at 45. Interesting, the one storm to the south is moving so slowly, and then this one has picked up the speed quite a bit. Centralia, you get 10 minutes or less, so Centralia definitely needs to be taking their tornado safety precautions. I think you guys were in the original warning, so yeah, you guys were close enough. I called you out earlier, so hopefully people around the Centralia area have been taking their safety precautions. Corning, about 15 minutes to Corning, 20 minutes to Goff. And then if it holds together, Wetmore, Kansas, in about a half hour. So everybody out here east of Vermillion along Highway 9, Centralia, Corning, Goff, up to areas here near Wetmore, Grenada, and Capioma, needs to be taking their tornado safety precautions. Quickly back to this storm. This is still just a damaging tornado over Westmoreland. They haven't updated it in a minute. So we're still seeing a little, I missed there. Still seeing a little rotation in here. Yeah, there may be something still in here. There's a potential this is still on the ground. Even though that couplet has definitely weakened and broadened out. But we can track this back again. We can take a look here. Rotation really started picking up here just southwest of Westmoreland, Kansas, near Kansas Highway 13. And then that was around the time that the emergency management was reporting a funnel cloud with this storm. We can also check CC. It may have started right in that area there. So yeah, it was reported as the rotation picked up a funnel cloud and then very quickly became tornadic, especially right there west of Westmoreland. That is around State Street and Westmoreland Road and Campbell Street in Westmoreland. And we can really see that bright tornado couplet here, the tornado vortex signature. And unfortunately, it slid across the town of Westmoreland. It's still here on the east side of town. But yeah, you can see how it has been on the downtrend. It's weakened and broadened. Out in this area here, it's now along the Wheaton Road. But yeah, I'm starting to watch this area here. It's starting to pick up on the southwest flank, a new area rotation near the Laclede area. So this is still a dangerous storm here. We have possibly an ongoing tornado in this area right here that slid over from Westmoreland. But then a new area rotation, this would be sliding up towards Laclede and Aikens and St. Clair. I called you guys earlier. You definitely need to really start paying attention to this storm. Laclede, Aikens, and St. Clair. Because you may go under tornado warning here if that holds together. Still radar indicated here near Vermillion, Kansas. But this rotation is definitely picked up. We can take a look back. We can see it was a bit broader, but still starting to develop here near Sullivan and Vermillion, Kansas. But over the last couple scans, this may be another tornado on the ground. Let's take a look at this couplet here. This is, if it's not on the ground yet, it's going to be very close to being on the ground here. Starting to see a little sketchy CCs. This is now southeast, southeast of Vermillion, Kansas. Again, it's going to be coming over Centralia, Corning, along Kansas Highway 9, Goff, Wetmore, Grenada, Woodlawn, Kelly. All need to be in your safe space here. And even if this slides south of Centralia or Kelly or Woodlawn, you guys need to be in your safe space for some larger hail. There's a growing hail core up here between Vermillion and Centralia that's showing more and more of these blues. That's indicating some larger hail, 2-inch plus. Let me back out real quick, just make sure we don't have any other tornado warnings at the moment. No, we don't have any other tornado warnings here at the moment. This is also really starting to show a bigger hail core down here near Laclede and Aikens and St. Clair. So I would prefer, if you're watching from this area, if you know people from this area, you guys should probably be in your safe space here too. Definitely lowest level, away from doors and windows. This is possibly some wind-driven hail. And then we're watching the rotation in the Laclede area. If that can tighten up, that has a potential to drop another tornado. This was a storm that was originally warned for a wall cloud and a funnel cloud. I'd be surprised if it's not on the ground. Yeah, starting to see these CC drops in here. That's starting to make me very suspicious that there's something in here. Those greens and CC core signatures for these greens and blues would sometimes line up for the hail core. Like we can see the hail core up here between Vermillion and Centralia, but there's generally not a lot of hail that comes down into the hook. And with a rotation couplet like that, with a vortex signature like that, I'm pretty confident this is also on the ground. We'll wait another scan or two and just double check this, but especially if we see these lower values in here, then that pretty much seals the deal for me. This is a pretty tight couplet here. Yeah, and we're decently close to the radar too, so we're seeing some really high values go away from the radar, and then we're also seeing some pretty strong values headed towards the radar. So your tornado's sitting right in here, and that's where we're seeing this CC drop. And then also on the reflectivity, we're not seeing a ton of reflectivity right here. So we shouldn't be seeing the hail signatures. This is probably on the ground. Yeah, it's on the ground. I could just read the updated thing. Emergency management reported a confirmed tornado. So we didn't even need to do the radar forensics to find that out. But damaging tornado and baseball-sized hail now. This is coming again over Centralia, Goff, Corning, Wetmore, Woodlawn, Kelly, Seneca, and Oneida. You guys all need to be in your safe space. Actually, Seneca, it's going to slide south of you guys. South of Seneca, need to be in your safe space, but especially Woodlawn, Kelly, Centralia, Corning, Goff, and Wetmore. In Kansas, this is a dangerous storm here. You can see it's really starting to develop that look. Again, we have a really strong hail core in here. We have good ventilation on the forward flank. Our RFD is wrapping around. Our RFD is wrapping around. We have our inflow coming in like this. So this is a nice healthy storm. And then we have a very strong velocity signature showing up right here in our hook. And that is also correlating with the CC drop. So this is a better visual here of the CC drop and what we're finding. We can see these lower values in here. That is the radar saying that these things are not alike. They're saying that there's different sizes in the shapes of objects that the radar is bouncing off of. Around that, we can see the pink colors, these pink and orange colors. The radar is saying these are all basically the same size and shape. So these are all water droplets, essentially. Maybe a little bit of hail sometimes can wrap down in here, but these are essentially all water droplets. These are not. These are tree limbs, dust, debris, leaves, twigs, building supplies, whatever the tornado is picking up. These are the lower values that don't correlate with each other. And then we can definitely see that here in its placement in the southwest flank of this storm. And then it's over the rotation here. So this is a very dangerous storm. Probably a tornado on the ground the last few minutes. It probably has been close to being on the ground since we started to look at it here, since it really started to tighten up. And definitely those last 2 or 3 scans. It's not quite as powerful signature as we just saw, but this is still probably in here. Let's see. Yep, it's still in here, right in this area here. So this is a tornado ongoing here. This is going to be north of Beckerville, Kansas. So Beckerville, especially if you're north of Beckerville, you guys need to be in your safe space. And especially Corning, Kansas, this is sliding east here towards you guys. This is east at 45. So Corning, Goff, if you're along Kansas Highway 9, you really need to be in your safe space here. And then continuing over on Kansas Highway 9 towards Wetmore, Kansas. North sides of Bancroft, Kansas. We have our tornado on the ground here showing a debris signature. Again, north sides of Beckerville, north sides of Bancroft, and all of Corning, all of Goff, and definitely west and all of Wetmore. I would all be in your safe space. Centralia, you guys need to stay in your safe space. Centralia up to Kelly and Woodlawn. If it's on its current path, it's not going to probably affect you tornadically, but this storm is showing baseball-sized hail, and that's likely falling over Centralia. And we can see some of these hail signatures in here using the CC. So again, these blues and greens and yellows, that's the radar saying, hey, some of these objects don't seem like they're, rain. And that in this part of the storm correlates with the hail signatures that we're seeing in the dark purples and pinks. So this is some large hail, some damaging hail headed along Highway 9 here towards Centralia. And that's again going to slide especially towards Kelly and Woodlawn, with the tornado sitting south of Centralia now, headed towards Corning. Again, this is an ongoing damaging tornado, baseball-sized hail. And Yeah, they kept the speed at 45. So let's just test that out, and I'm gonna take it from the lead of the mezzo. East at 45 means you have about 8 minutes or less. I would say about 5 minutes for Corning, 15 minutes for Goff, and 20 minutes for Wetmore. So again, 5 minutes Corning, 15 minutes Goff, and 20 minutes Wetmore. You guys all need to be taking your tornado safe space. That's lowest level, into your room, away from doors, windows, the outside. Put as many walls between you and the exterior as possible. Lowest level into your room, that tends to be a bathroom, a closet, a hall closet, a laundry room, something without doors, windows, and the outside. And then if you have a storm shelter or a basement and you can get below ground, that's even better. Certainly the lower you can go, the better. And then also it has to be a stable, sturdy structure. So if you're out here, Wetmore, Goff, Corning, it's getting really tight. Corning, you got to take your action plan now if you haven't done that yet. But Goff and Wetmore, if you're out here in a mobile home or working out in a garage or a barn, you guys need to get to your sturdy, stable, permanent structure immediately. Let's check in here. We have our rotation still showing up. Again, not quite as tight as it was earlier, but it's still here, sitting here in the hook echo. And yeah, still seeing that CC drop in here. So this is likely still on the ground. Also getting, unfortunately, a tornado report. Visual confirmation of a tornado southeast of Vermillion. Okay, so at least I mean, good news is it wasn't a damage report. It was just a confirmation. Emergency manager reported that. But yes, still seeing in here, this is sitting southeast of Vermillion. So Vermillion, you guys can come out of your safe spot. This is south-southwest of Centralia and just basically north of Beckerville. And it headed east, so it's headed towards Corning. Just about 5 minutes to Corning. Yeah, that is a nasty storm. This also is showing baseball-sized hail, so if you're in the Centralia area and over towards Kelly and Woodlawn, you guys all need to be into your room, sturdy structure, below ground, or not below ground, but at least in an interior space away from the windows. You are in a tornado warning, so it's good to take your full tornado precautions. But especially Centralia, this is basically sliding south of you already, so it's not going to make a full right turn. If I was out ahead of this in Kelly or Woodlawn, though, I'd still be in my safe space. And I'm kind of measuring out from the hail core. There may be some hail out ahead of this too, but from the strongest hail core, it's about 5 minutes to Kelly and about 15 minutes to Woodlawn. So you guys need to be taking your action plans. Still likely sitting back in here. Maybe it's lifting here. The rotation is definitely weakened, and I'm not seeing the CC drop like we did earlier. There's still a little bit of a... Yeah, you know what? I think it's still in here. It's right in here. It's definitely shrunk in size, so this may be roping out. Again, we don't have a visual of this. We're just kind of watching on the radar side. But this may be roping out. It's definitely shrunk in size. It's also kind of lagging back behind the main energy of the storm. So this may be running out of gas. And then checking down here, the tornado warning was dropped for this storm here from Westmoreland, Kansas. But the hailstorm is still a big threat here. Tennis ball size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. And I want to check the rotation on this too. There's still kind of a shear line in here with a little bit area of a tighter rotation coming towards Emmett. Not seeing anything tornadic at the moment, but that storm deserves watching. We have new severe thunderstorms. Yeah, let's cover some of these other storms real quick. We have a bunch of storms here in northwest Iowa. They have been really non-tornadic. A little bit of rotation in there, though. But these ones up here towards Denham, Coon Rapids, Carroll, Manning are mostly producing gusty winds and smaller hail, about 1-inch hail. So honestly, those storms haven't looked as strong as some of the ones to the south, but still, if you're out ahead of this, Cherdan, Grand Junction, Jefferson, down towards Coon Rapids, Guthrie Center, you guys need to be inside, away from windows. This storm here is that one that we were watching, came across the areas here, Red Oak, where our camera is located. Actually, and let me see, I might be able to switch the camera to the east cam. Let's actually see if there's something out ahead of this. Towards Winterset. Okay. So this is the view here. I'm switching the cameras. Let's pull this up. This is a view from right here at the junction of 35 and, is it 5? Yeah. 5, the southern beltway to Des Moines, and 35. This is a camera that's sitting right in here looking west-southwest. So we're looking directly towards this storm. Let me slide this over. All right. Yeah, so our camera is right here in this area here where Route 5 and 35 come together. So we're looking basically west-southwest, directly back towards that storm that's approaching Winterset. So we can get a really good view of it. And this is a nasty storm. There's actually 2 in here. The one that we saw had some small hail, is still severe warned. It's now up to 2-inch hail. That's moving east at 35. We called you guys out earlier. The Orient area up to Dewey, Mount Etna, Messina, and Bridgewater. We called you guys out earlier. That hail core is right over Dewey at the moment. But the storm that we're really watching here from the camera is this one that's south of Winterset. So our camera's here looking straight southwest back into that storm, and that looks nasty if you're headed that direction. Southwest of Des Moines right now. Big hail core over Orient up towards Greenfield and Fontenelle. And we can check on this rotation. There is rotation showing up in here. It's broad right now, but this storm definitely has potential to develop that pretty quickly. If it can tighten up some of that rotation, there is definitely a tornadic potential with this storm. But the big thing I think we're going to get out of this is damaging hail reports. All those blue, purple colors, that is a pretty powerful storm here. That is generally headed up to the southern suburbs of Des Moines. So we'll keep this camera up as long as the camera keeps streaming. That is headed our direction, so we should get some good views from it. I'll shrink the camera down for a little bit, but more severe storms popping up with large hail here near Mount Ayr, Tingley, Lenox, Gravity. This area had a few tornadoes the other day, so that's not good for the cleanup. More hailstorms down here in southern Nebraska, showing some large hail near Schubert. A little bit of rotation in there too. Large hail headed towards between Hamburg and College Springs in southwest Iowa, and right along the Missouri-Iowa border here. And then watching 2 tornadic potential storms down here in eastern Kansas. This is all north of Manhattan, north of Topeka, but our one storm is still an observed tornado. This is coming in towards the Corning area. Rotation right in there. And still seeing that CC drop in here. So yeah, we still may have a tornado on the ground. It looks a little messier than it did earlier, so it may have lifted. Though let's treat this like it's a tornado still on the ground. And in addition to this, this storm has had baseball-sized hail. So we definitely need to be lowest level into your room, taking your tornado safety precautions. Centralia, if you're in your tornado safe space in Centralia, just give this another 5 minutes or so. Let this back end clear, you guys, because especially if you're south and east of Centralia, there's still some larger hail in there. Let me just check real quick and see if I can get any visual of a tornado here. Oh yeah, we have some storm chasers. I'll post it to our Twitter account. That's WeatherCastUSA on Twitter. But yeah, that one and Vermillion, at least about 10 or 15 minutes ago, when we saw the debris signature, it was on the ground for sure. And it's not just a little land spout. It's a pretty good size tornado. Yeah, that is a tornado. Essentially, if you Google a tornado picture, it's a classic tornado picture. Um, Kind of a skinny cone tornado out in. The good news is, at least the storm teacher photos I just retweeted. I mean, they're not in like a city; it's in like a farm field. So hopefully, it's just picking up some trees and dust and dirt, and not actually hitting stuff. But it's about to go into a little more population here. If it's still on the ground, this is headed right into Corning. So Corning, we've been calling you guys out for 20, 30 minutes here. Hopefully anyone in Corning, Kansas is in their safe space. Also up along Highway 9 and also east of Corning along Highway 9. We can check the CC. This may have lifted. It's way broader than it was, but there still could be something under this mezzo. There's still some interesting values in here. There's still some greens and yellows. They're not the deep blues like we saw a little bit ago, but there could still be a tornado on the ground near Corning. And let me see if they've updated this. Well, now they're saying that it's over Goff, but I don't know. I don't know if that is the right location. Corning to Goff to Wetmore, you guys need to be in your safe space. I think they just typed the location wrong. It's probably over Corning. If it's still on the ground, it would be over Corning right about now. And unfortunately, it may still be in there. Seeing a little bit higher of a value right in this hook. That could be a debris signature. Hard to tell in the CC at the moment. But this still could be on the ground here. So we'll check in on that storm in a minute. The storm that originally had a tornado warning and produced a tornado over Westmoreland, that storm still has some broad rotation to it over here near Emmett and Delia. It hasn't tightened up since we've been watching it leave Westmoreland. So over the last 10, 20 minutes, it still hasn't really tightened up much. But it's still worth watching. The other problem with this storm is it's sliding a little more south and east now. So now just taking a look at this warning covers areas just north and west of Topeka. More than the tornado threat, it's going to be a 70-mile-an-hour wind and damaging hail threat. So if you're leaving Topeka, it's 5:23 Central Time right now. If you're leaving work, especially up 75, US 75 from Topeka, you need to get home quickly if you're gonna try and make that. Or it might be one of those days, and I know people don't like to hear it. It could be one of those days if you live and work in Topeka and you don't have to get home immediately. It could be one of those days where, especially if you're going north and west of the city, to just let this go by, stay at work, get a little more work done, and and then get home after this thing goes through. Because if you're going to drive north and west of Topeka, you're going to drive into this damaging hailstorm. Coming towards Hoyt, Mayetta, Delia, and Emmett right now, St. Mary's. The whole line now has basically unzipped. We've been focused in on the tornado warnings and some of our bigger storms. The one near Winterset, Iowa, that is our camera view right now, looking from the Des Moines area towards Winterset. Maybe needs a refresh. But yeah, this whole line is starting to unzip here. So south of St. Mary's, Newberry, Alma, Council Grove, Cottonwood Falls, Burns, Florence, up towards the areas north and west of Wichita, Cedric, Bel Air, Park City. These are all going to be for hail and damaging winds, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and inch to inch and a half hail I'd put this at. Basically, yeah, the whole line. So that is not great if you're going to travel, especially 35. This is going to get real messy along 35 in a few minutes. There's a couple areas of rotation here. There's one near Peabody. That's worth watching. The good news is if they start to line up, they're probably going to form into more of a convective system. So we're seeing what could become especially a damaging wind threat as it heads into southeast Kansas. The best chance for the tornadoes are going to be these individual cells. If they can stay discrete, they're the ones that have the potential to stay as discrete supercells. Okay, we have a new damage report here out of emergency management. Not one you want to see, but a tornado hit a house out south of Centralia. So that's why we try and cover these. This isn't like a major populated area. This isn't a big city, but I want to try and get warnings out to people when we can. And especially if they're not in a big city, they may not have access to as much news markets as you know you do if you're in Dallas and stuff. But unfortunately, it looks like we've got some pictures of it by some chasers of it out in the fields, but unfortunately it must have went across one of the houses. And then I still want to check on Westmoreland, right? That was the town. Yeah, Westmoreland, where we saw the debris ball go over the town. Oh no, that was not good. So it looked like it was a similar type of a tornado, a cone tornado, but a pretty strong cone tornado. And yeah, there were